First of all, Nigel, then, give us an overview of who exactly you're looking for.
Well, it's one of those jobs where it's full training is given. You don't need any experience, you don't need any prior knowledge. What we're looking for is decent people who are prepared to give a bit more to the community, and they'll get paid for that too. They'll be trained and supported throughout and developed. So ultimately, you've got to be somebody who's willing to learn, willing to take instruction as well, do as they're told, have a disciplined approach to life in general, and to be physically fit and strong. It's not just about running, it's also about lifting heavy things too.
But background experience really is not essential.
No, it's absolutely not essential, no. And sometimes it clouds people's behaviour when they come and try some of the tests that we do. It's like they'll assume they know something where really they would be better off learning.
I've watched a lot of Fireman Sam. Would that mean I'm a good candidate?
It's something that it's a good starting point. It's a jumping off point. I would say it's not where you want to finish. Perhaps progress. Maybe Trumpton next. Yeah.
Do you, though, without necessarily background knowledge, do you have to be extremely fit?
Not extremely fit. It's a moderate level of fitness. Now, there's a bleep test and there's science behind that supports that about a VO2 max. And I don't pretend to understand that, but it basically equates to 8.8 on a bleep test, which is a 20-metre course. It's a measured distance, and it gives us an indication of people's base level of fitness. And there are elements where we test people's physical strength as well, which is about lifting the hose, which when you pick it up, it weighs about 23 kilos. The further you run with it is the lighter it gets because it rolls off, of course. But you have to be strong and fit, but not superhuman fit. We're not talking marathon runners or weightlifters.
We should say, actually, that obviously we did do the bleep test last year, and it's actually manageable. It is manageable. We were terrified, but it's not as bad as you think it's going to be.
It's probably only about 10 minutes work.
Yeah.
So if it's short and sharp and it gets tougher, but it is probably, if you get your head around that, it's probably only 10 minutes that you're asked to work for. I think that's achievable, isn't it? You can push hard knowing that it'll end.
So how long have you been an on-call firefighter, Sarah?
3 years.
And what was it that made you think this is what I want to do?
Well, I received the government emails about all the different jobs, and I was just having to look through them, and I actually opened this thinking, I think my husband would like that. And I started reading through it and I thought, oh, forget him, I'd like that. So I just made a few calls. I have a cousin who's in the service, and I just rang and I said, am I being ridiculous? And I can honestly say everybody I've encountered from that moment till now, no one once said, don't apply. He said, it's not ridiculous at all. As long as you're fit enough, strong enough to do it, go down to your local station and see what they say. So I did.
And in terms of the process, the physical side of it, because I'm guessing the written application is fairly straightforward, but in terms of that physical process, how was that?
Yeah, I think, like Nigel says, the hose running is probably the most difficult thing. The beep test you can train for, and you can download it onto the internet and you can literally train for it. You know if you do it or not. But the hose running, there's an element of technique to it. So if you're physically very strong, you can just crack on and do it. But for me, I probably did have to perfect technique a little bit, to make up for that deficit of strength. But it's doable.
And in terms of how this all fits around your family life, you've got 4 children.
Yes, I do.
You've got that 3 hours training, as you say, and then you have a certain amount of hours that you have to commit to every month. How has that worked practically? Really well.
Before I joined the fire service, I was working nights at a hospital. I still work at a hospital, but I'm not on nights anymore. And I can honestly say that was far more disruptive to family life. You've got to have a supportive family, regardless whether you've got children or not. You can be called out in the middle of the night, and you do have to have an understanding family, because you might be called out and you might not come home, as in the case of the Bradder fire, for
3 days.
Yeah. You might be back in 20 minutes. That those people don't know where you've gone, or you could be in a dangerous situation. So you do need a supportive family. But I've, good family, good friends, and I can leave the children drop of a hat, thankfully.
And speaking about, I know we're keen here to make sure that we are making the point that anyone can be a firefighter, regardless of gender or background, but there is still a physical difference between men and women, and we have to sort of acknowledge that as well. Have you found any challenges to being a female firefighter?
Yes. My height, I would say, more than my strength, because you can get around strength with technique. There are certain things, putting a ladder back onto a truck, it gets to a certain height and I just physically can't reach, But on the other hand, when I joined, I was recruited at the same time as a man from Peel, and he's stereotypical. He's over 6 foot. He's really strong, but I'm pretty sure that he didn't enjoy the confined spaces, and I just crawled right through.
So that's the
there's
thing,
definitely
yeah.
advantages,
Benefits and disadvantages
Yeah.
and everything, isn't there? But Nigel, from a point of view of when you are called out, I suppose you never know exactly what you're going to face. How do you prepare people for that element of it?
Well, it's always a team-based thing anyway. So, and there's lots of experience on the fire appliances and coming in. So, you draw on experience. There's quite a bit of training. The people who are in charge of the fire appliances, they get training in instant command. We risk assess everything before we do it. They take into account the people they have, the training and experience they have, and they decide on how they act. Yes, there's an element of risk, but we have no history of serious injuries. We get knocks, we get scrapes, we get strains and sprains, touch wood, because we have a real strong safety ethic. We don't leave people alone on the fireground.
And I'm guessing there is that real sense of being part of a family, in inverted commas, that you are all looking out for each other because, it's for the greater good, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a bit of an adage: the first 6 lives we can save are the ones that are on the truck that turn up. Right, so we make sure we all come back first, although we will take calculated risks to save people's lives. But we also have sometimes, and it's rare, and I can't remember a time we've had to do it, we may have to take a decision that it's the people on the truck that we can save. The other people, unfortunately, are in a position where we can't save them, or we need additional resources or equipment, and we will wait and we will take a slightly more defensive approach.
And it's not just about fighting fires, though, is it? I mean,
No.
Sarah, you must have such a varied life doing this. It's not always going to be the same thing you're turning up to, is it?
That's what makes it so good. Yeah. No, you mean you've got the RTC, so car crashes and things that you're going to. We've been to trap children in cars. Cars automatically lock themselves these days. All sorts of different things. Yeah, it's fun. That's what makes it so good. But training for that is hugely broad. So each week you go to train, it doesn't get boring because there's something new every week you have to remind yourself of.
Can you remember your first ever shout out?
Yes, I can. Yes. My first ever shout out was to an elderly lady who had fallen, and she'd fallen behind the door, so we couldn't get in. So I was able to fit through a tiny bathroom window to unlock the door and let the paramedics in.
What a brilliant sense of achievement. Can you remember your first call out, Nigel?
It was a very long time ago. No, I can't. It's the honest answer to that. No, they tend to sort of. I've been kicking around a bit now, so my jobs tend to meld into one, and I can remember some. I won't say amusing, but ones that stick with me, where people have rarely done anything particularly bright before they dial 999. So you stand there and say, "How did you manage that?" But I'm not going to regale the local community with that for fear of embarrassing some people.
Okay, I'm sure there will be lots of questions before the end of the show about specifics, but if you give us a general overview then, you're looking for on-call firefighters at Peel, Castletown and Douglas, and also whole-time firefighters in Douglas. Who can apply in terms of age? What are the limits there?
It's because of health and safety and risk assessment and our inability to manage it. Clearly, you need to be over 18 to apply. There is no upper age limit. And again, that with the legislation coming in January 2020, but ideally, if we looked around about 45, we start asking, is that person going to give us a return on what we're looking for? But no, there's no upper age limit. You can apply, and we will consider you. Education-wise, we're looking for GCSE Grade C English. But if you haven't got that, there's a written test that you can do, which is multiple choice. So it's not essential that you have that. You can take it, but it's essential that you pass that, what they call the National Firefighter Ability Test. And it's all in the pack. There's lots of information in the pack. There's also example papers and things that you can do to prepare for it. So there's quite a lot of information out there. Read the pack and download it. Register for the job. Apply, please.
So what is the first step then? If someone's listening now and thinks, maybe I want to find out more, what should they do?
Well, it's on the government jobs website. You apply there, and within that there's lots of information about the dates, and most of those dates aren't movable, so you have to be able to commit to all the dates that are in there. Fill in the application form, submit your CV, and then on Monday you'll get an email one way or the other, either inviting you to the physical assessment, the ability test for educational, or you will be told that your application has been unsuccessful. That's it. Fill in the application and take it from there.